Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It's a lovely Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday over here from a very sunny Helsinki, Finland. It's way too hot for me. I'm actually catching a bit of a tan myself, and there is plenty to talk about in the good old crypto space right now. Bless you, sir, but no more of that because we got some very important stuff to discuss within the whole cryptoscape. Of course, because this is the early morning wrap-up, I do want to remind myself that I want to want to have a mission that these videos are 20 minutes or less, and then we can follow up obviously on the live stream a little bit later today. Anyways, with that said, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest. Let's get into it right now. Let's take a look at the Krown chain application, and what do we see? We do see Bitcoin dominance actually recovering a little bit from yesterday to today, but more importantly, on the whole, we have seen a massive catastrophic drop in that over the past few weeks here. So I do want to take a quick look at Bitcoin dominance today. I know I always fucking say that, but today I'm definitely going to be looking at it. And if we go zero in on some of the altcoins over here, what the hell? Wait, what the actual fuck? Oh, PundyX old. Okay, so something else is going on over here. Obviously, 2,600% to the upside. I'm not so certain about that. I think we want the new one. Doggycoin, however, another winning day as of the last 24 hours, almost up another 24%. This is following up after like another 15% yesterday, and I think 150 the day before. This is insanity right now. We are certainly in the etchings of the twilight zone, as we do see all of the cheap coins, right, get to rally up. But as you remember in 2017 or 2018 perhaps, assuming that you're around that time, well, it was typically the cheap ones that did rally last. In this case, we do see Solana, Stacks, Huobi, Monero, Swissborg, Terra USD, Revane, and DAI all on the winners list today. But as you can see, it's really only a few winners right here. All the other ones, 7 and beyond, are actually very much muted, less than a percent gain to the upside. On the other side, though, big losers yesterday, humongous losers, in fact, with Dent, Helium, Yearn Finance, Kusama, IOST, IOTA, Chili's, Sahecoin, Reserve Rights, and Tezos, all down double digits and more. Just insanity right there, an absolute slacking, an absolute shilling. On top of that, we do see open interest come down another 500 million, that is. So it has come down from about 13.5 billion to 10 billion, that is. Now, we still have not seen open interest shoot up while Bitcoin obviously comes down. So I don't look at this as a precipitous signal of a reversal just yet. But if we do see open interest shoot up, while Bitcoin does break the $54,000 range to the downside, that'd be a damn good signal that we're seeing hit at the very least a medium and probably even daily reversal in here, and can start to look towards moves at about $45,000 and maybe even beyond. But for right now, I still do look at Bitcoin as a little bit of hopium. And with that said, let's go into the market data tab just really quickly here. Or do we want to do that? No, you know what? We'll save that for the live stream later. Although I do want to point out that funny rates per exchanges, we're seeing massive negative rates actually on FTX and OKX. You're getting paid 0.05% in order to hodl your longs there, meaning you get paid to hodl your longs. Again, all the exchanges are pretty much muted, 0.01%. And less. So across the board, we have seen a full-on reset here, and that would essentially imply that if you are looking at Bitcoin as still within a macro bullish rally, that this would be your next bottoming area. So let's go to the charts themselves. We'll start it off right on over here, and let's focus on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis. So yesterday's short-term time frame analysis, we essentially identified the short-term and medium-term time frame range. To the upside was $58,000, to the downside was $54,000, mediated by the short-term range of about 56,500 right here. And we did say that, well, Bitcoin just tested the top side of the range. What's most likely to happen after that? Bitcoin probably comes back down and tests the bottom side of the range, in this case $54,000. And thus far, we have actually gotten that move. Every once in a while, that TA bullshit somewhat working. And more importantly with this is not the picture of health and fitness as it stands right now. I mean, we quite literally have a downtrend on all time frames up to, I believe, a 12-hour, potentially a lower high in place on a 12-hour too. But at least for now, I do think that you can still hold on to a little bit of hopium for Bitcoin as long as $54,000 does hold on a 4-hour closure, or 53,500 on a bi-hourly. Now, I might, looking at this a little bit more, and looking at this area right here, I mean, technically speaking, it would be the lows of 18th of April here that you really want to see closed below on a 4-hour. So take that with a grain of salt. But in general here, there's a lot of things that I actually don't like as to what's going on. But I do want to be very deliberately clear in saying that as long as Bitcoin is, again, holding this level, I can't get too bearish because we don't necessarily have a break of structure plus any sort of coalescing signals lining up with that. What I mean by that is that if we go over here to our secondary charts and we pull up some of our momentum oscillators, we do see momentum oscillators are starting to turn down once again. We see 4-hour Stokes rejecting getting out of the bearish control zone. Not fucking good right there. And and then 4-hour DMI plus, or sorry, DMI minus is dominant here and has been for the last couple days, and then more importantly, ADX is still strengthening. So if that happens alongside of a break of this structure right here, yes, have to be looking much lower. At least in my opinion, I will be looking for a rather quick move, likely down to about 51,000 bucks. And probably a bounce implied there with continuation lower below 50,000 bucks. To be quite honest with you, it would very likely be that Bitcoin finds at the very least, or at least tries to find a low somewhere around 45,000 bucks if that condition were to be met. But for right now, as I've been saying, until that actually happens, until that condition is met, I can't get too bearish here. And for what it's worth right now, we still do have on the other side to represent both sides equally here. And I actually would be aligning with the Bula side as it is right now, at least on this first pass right now. And what I mean by that is because we do have an uptrend, and I always err on the side of the trend here, and all higher term time frames still have an uptrend. And of course, the macro has an uptrend as well. So I always will, I always will err on that side until proven otherwise. In this case, where do we get proven otherwise as far as the daily goes? Well, your last higher low is back on over here at about 51,500-ish region. That's going to be synonymous with not just the daily, but also the 2-day, 3-day, and maybe even weekly. No, sorry, not the weekly, but but all of the time frames, yes, showing that as a major pivot, meaning that if Bitcoin does start to break back down below 51,500, we'll call it, then I would be looking for at the very least to move towards 45,000 bucks, probably a big bounce there, maybe a major low. If that low does not hold, I'd be looking somewhere around the 200x moving average right here, which is about 39,000 bucks. Anyways, for what it's worth right now, Bitcoin does, as we did identify yesterday, potentially have hidden bullish evidence in place if and only if it can confirm a local low. While we did say yesterday that would certainly not be, or extremely unlikely not going to happen yesterday, today could be the day. And how would we identify a local low right here? Well, I actually do believe in this particular instance, it would be a good idea to actually go all the way back down to that 4-hour time frame, and we could just use the top side of the medium-term time frame range, 58,000 bucks, or a few ticks below 58,000 bucks. Technically speaking, it's about 57.5. Any sort of a tick above the high of 19th of April, or a closure on a 2-hour or 4-hour dildo above 57.5, and I would be looking at this as a confirmed local low. That would imply that hidden bullish evidence on the daily would be confirmed and would initiate targets back up towards just around 60,000 bucks. That would also be synonymous with the CME gap that we had from last Friday, right around 60,000 bucks. And for what it's worth, I do think that it's worth calling this out as well, as Bitcoin on the daily has loved, or I wouldn't say loved, but Bitcoin on the daily, ever since this uptrend really started, ever since this macro breakout really began, which we identified over here at about 11,500. That's when the macro breakout, at least on this channel, we've been kind of saying, hey, that was like your really big change of behavior. Ever since that happened, the green 55 exponential average has been a nice basing area for Bitcoin's mega massive dumps thus far. We can see, I wouldn't necessarily call this one an iteration right here, but certainly right here and right here. I'd call this an iteration as well. And then more recently in 24th of March right here too. Anyways, Bitcoin is once again dancing alongside the 55 exponential average. Guess where it's coming in around? It's coming in around 55,000 bucks. Even almost. So as long as Bitcoin is holding above there, especially on an open and close basis, but even on a closing basis, I would say that this is, appropriate to be a little bit more aggressive here. I'm very hesitant to get super bearish on this as it is. That's just my proclivities as a trader though. Again, this is for you to decide at the end of the day. Hopefully this is in some way valuable to your own personal analysis and whatnot. But with that said, again, if this does confirm as a local low, I would be looking for Bitcoin back around 60,000 bucks, and very likely, continues on with the party overall. Remember the monthly, sirs and zers, the monthly right here. We've been having the same sort of interplay ever since, hey, where'd you go? We've been having the same sort of interplay ever since the dawn of time for Bitcoin on the monthly. Anytime that Bitcoin is closed above the topside Toronto band on the monthly, always, the low of that month has always tested at the very least the topside Toronto band, sometimes a little bit below, but at the very least the topside Toronto band. In this case, that dump that we had on Sunday quite literally tested exactly where? Literally to the topside Toronto band, in fact. So with that in mind, I do look at that as that condition as fulfilled once again. And while this trend will obviously at some point fail, it has been going strong for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, going on 7 now. And until that condition is actually not met, I will be unwilling to call that, because just like the people who have been saying, but it's been happening for too long. Well, people have been saying that ever since fucking 20,000 bucks, right? So until that condition is not met, I'm basically looking for one of these, just step it up. And in this case, I would be looking at about the same thing. Anyways, momentum oscillators on the monthly are a little bit concerning as they are right now, especially with only 10 days left in the trading month to go. But that is an eternity for all that I'm concerned about. And we do see monthly stows technically would have crossed the downside in the critical zone. Not the worst thing of all time, but I really would keep a keen eye on the MACD histogram and also DMI. If that ADX starts to weaken a bit, and we do see a backing off of the MACD histogram, it's going to be a pretty damn good signal that Bitcoin probably does play at a greater pullback from this region. But again, as I've been saying, if Bitcoin actually does reverse and start to take out the low structure right here, which I would actually at the first outset say that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I actually do think that Bitcoin probably does pull through to the upside here, at least in the short and medium term. I do think that it has at least another bounce in it. I would not be willing to call a macro cycle top. There are three major considerations that I'm looking for to confirm a macro cycle top, of which Bitcoin has confirmed none of them with this current run. The first and foremost would be daily HVP, or it's not even daily, but even just weekly HVP getting into the red zone. Bitcoin has never put in a macro cycle high without printing red on weekly HVP. We can go all the way back to 2012 is not going to really count over here because it's just a little bit too young, but obviously getting this high right here, getting this high right here, getting this high right here, and then are we in the red zone right now? No, we're certainly trending up, yes, but it's currently, for reference, right around 75 percentile. So it could very much go more, as red doesn't really start to populate itself until we get above 90, and realistically on a generational high, I want to see that get like deep into the 90s, deep inside the 90s in that case. So with all of that in mind, it's consideration, but that does still align at least with me looking for potentially another drive on this. So if Bitcoin were to reverse from here, I actually would still be looking for another high on this macro rally, or just from this current posturing anyways. On top of that, what else would I be looking for? Well, obviously the weekly RSI has been pretty damn dependable in this too. Anytime that we've seen the weekly RSI get above the 90s alongside weekly HVP also getting into that area that we just spoke about, those have essentially been all of your major highs, in fact. So those two things combined together produce massive efficacy for actually finding those major highs. Now, recently we actually did get way deep into the 90s right here, but that was actually on your late December highs. That was way the fuck back on over here. So that's already played out. It's not necessarily a condition that we can look at right now or rely on. It's just not present. And then on top of that, the third, and obviously it's going to be the last one to be confirmed, but that would be a weekly reversal, of which that has gotten all the macro moves in Bitcoin's history, but we just don't have that right now. So if Bitcoin were to reverse from here, I would be looking again, $45,000. And if that area fails, then $39,000, and I would be looking at that as a long-term opportunity, to be quite honest with you. And of course, if I'm just going, and perusing around the different time frames right now, I do think that Bitcoin probably tries another move to the upside here, anyways. I'm always going to err on the side of the trend, and I do think that we're kind of in like the last push of this parabolic rally here, I do think that Bitcoin, likely does another push, at least from the metrics that I'm looking at right now. So going back on over here to our secondary charts, is there anything else that I want to reference? Yeah, DMI minus getting dominant on the daily is not a good signal there either. But again, I like how the 55 is kind of aligned with that current low structure. So it's very, very simple here as far as range trading goes. Again, I'd say 57.5 to the upside versus 54. Well, we could say more like 53.5 to the downside. Or if we even just take out the last 4-hour low, that'd probably be pretty damn concerning too, especially with 4-hour TSI potentially going to shift to the downside with any sort of a closure below $55,000. Technically speaking, that condition is not being met, but we got another 2 hours and 23 minutes to go. So that can very much change around quickly. All right, let's go check out Mr. Ethereum now. I want to keep time is of the essence. We're 13 minutes into this bitch. I think Ethereum's a lot easier to kind of identify here too. You got a very obvious range, right? You got this area right here, your highs 22.75 versus your low structure right around the 4-hour 200 exponential average 2050. That would be, and if Ethereum does break down, I would be looking for big bad moves, likely down to about just around 1900ish region, maybe even more. Technically speaking, this well, it's not necessarily in there just yet, but this would very likely create some sort of an ascending triangle. And kind of bore the shit out of people for the next few days here, I'd imagine. But at least for right now, I do think that Bula hopes are at least a little bit still alive. And if I did call things right now, just based off of momentum oscillators, would I be looking for another bounce off this short-term time frame support? Yes, I would, very likely. However, As I peruse around the short-term timeframes, we see the hourly and 2 hour both pointed up right here. Here's your hourly, here's your bi-hourly, or looking for a point to the upside. 3 and 4 hour obviously having a bit of a down. So what does that typically equate to? A little bit of sideways action. And seeing as we just kind of hit the bottom side of this short-term support, I'd be looking for a bounce first. Where can the bounce get you? I mean, anywhere around 56 or even 56.5 is within the cards. But as we've been saying, as long as it's below 57.5 and as long as it's above, let's call it 53.5. No change of behavior, even from like a short-term or medium-term time frame range there. Anyways, okay, cool. Let's go check out traditional markets. I'm curious if they're still looking boolah-ish, and let's go see where they at. Where's my damn Nasdaqs? Nasdaq, where are you? Found you. All right, there we go. I'm going to sneeze here soon too. All right, so we said yesterday, likely a short-term pullback, but still long-term continuation. Where's our short-term? Motherfucker. Goddamn pollen outside. So what did we say yesterday? We said yesterday likely a pullback to the 10 simple. In this case, that was 13,850-ish region. We got that pullback, in fact, so not bad right there. But I do still remain bullish on this one on the long term. Obviously, this is just a backfill on last week open, so I'd be looking for a quick bounce off that region, whether you're bullish or bearish. In this case, we even have higher lows on, of course, the 4 hour here too, with hidden bullish evidence on that side. So I would be looking for a short-term move, probably back up somewhere around 1400-ish, 14,000-ish region. And I do remain bullish on this one on the whole. Again, we do have, I believe, Netflix earnings this week, so that's going to likely run this one in the greater markets, and then pretty much all the other FANG stocks, I believe, in the following week. Looking at SPY futures, same thing here. In fact, this one actually looking a little bit better. Not even testing the 10 simple. They're all major moving averages tracing in this case. I like it. I like it. Again, same sort of setup over here. Hidden bullish evidence off that last 4 hour low. I'd be looking for a short-term move back to the highs of 4175 region, and probably continuation to new all-time highs. This chart is ridiculous, no doubt about that, but I'm still looking at about basically 4200-ish region, medium term, and then long term potentially if this one takes another leg, like 43-ish. Dow Jones, this one kind of following through a little bit more in line with SPY futures. And what do we see right here? We see more boolah-ish as well. Again, another higher low, hidden bullish divergence. Momentum also is turning up on new all-time highs. Yes, I'm going to be looking for new all-time highs here. And this one's kind of out in no man's land right here. I'd generally be looking for a long-term move towards actually $35,000 in this case. Still looks long-term good, but just like Bitcoin, I do think that these ones, they're probably in their last pushes. Daily RSI is completely fine for right now. Weekly RSI is completely fine for right now as well. So yes, I do think that it has another push here. But I do think that probably later this year we're very likely looking at the very least a sideways and down market. Maybe even a macro reversal and scare the shit out of everyone. But fair enough on that. Let's see, is there anything else that I want to talk about? Yeah, let's go check out Bitcoin dominance really quickly, and then maybe we'll go look at Coinbase for a second. All right, Bitcoin dominance, are we putting in anything resembling a low? Not really on a weekly. What about on a daily? No, not really. No divergences down here either. Just short-term moves. So I believe that the altcoin party likely continues on the whole. Probably going to spend some time bouncing around this region right here, as this is a generational low, of course, coming in from April 2019. But at least for right now, I'd be looking for more, maybe a few more pops on altcoins. You think they have a little more life in them left. Coinbase. What are we looking at over here? Are we nice? We're actually still below 20 minutes. Nice. All right. What are we looking at right here? Sideways. I'm not getting much from this chart. This chart is a no read for me. You have an obvious range, I suppose, for the information that we do have, but this is not helpful. This is not helpful. So I'm gonna leave it right there. Unless if I'm missing anything else, let's go quickly check out Bitcoin versus Korean won. If you were back here in 2017, 2018, remember that the Korean won chart and Japanese yen charts actually sometimes had secrets in them. Korean won chart got way fucking more bullish than everything else. I mean, this thing made massively new all-time highs. This one coming down pretty damn harshly. This one actually really does look like it come down to the 21, and that would be akin to about $45,000 on Bitcoin USD. But in this case right here, another bounce off the 377. Would it be looking for any sort of, well, we don't really see anything else. But 4-hour HVP getting this red does say that we very, very likely found at the very least a short-term low. Does that turn into the next major low? I think it's potential, as we identified on the daily. But as we identified on the daily, that will not be confirmed until Bitcoin gets back above 57,500 and then propel and moves back up somewhere around about 60,000 bucks. What about Bitcoin yen? Looks very similar to US dollar, so I don't think that there's too much volume looking at this one right here. Yeah, pretty much playing around all the same major areas as well. So you know what, I'm gonna leave it right there. Like I said, I'll be back on later, right around 1 p.m. BST for you Brits, and for you Americans, you can do the math on that. Although I'm American myself, and I don't even know what time that would be. Very early in the morning for you over there in America. I'm trying to line it up with the daily open. Anyways, with that said, I want to wish you well. Take care, and see you soon.